गणनां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कविना उपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतनः शृण्वनुतिभिः सीदसादन वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सिद्धिबुद्धिशक्ति सहिता श्रीमन्महागणाधिपतये नमो नमः निर्विघ्नं कुरु या कुन्देन्दुतुषारहारधवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्मच्युतशङ्करा प्रभृतिभिर्देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मा पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यपः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वानरयुक्तमोख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शरणं प्रपद्ये श्रीरामदूतं शरणं प्रपद्ये श्रीरामदूतं शरणं प्रपद्ये बोलो बजरंगबली हनुमान की जय। Well, thank you. And thank you to those of you who have chosen to come and participate in this. I had fun writing this article. So I hope you enjoy listening to it. It's called The Two Paths, Karma and Dharma. Chaos and order, nature and civilization, survival and service. In the ancient Vedic sciences and related sciences such as Buddhism and Jainism, two concepts stand out clearly as defining our life experiences: karma and dharma. The corresponding pairs of states above, chaos and order, nature and civilization, survival and service, echo the distinctions between the karma and dharma model. The relationships between them are interesting, intricate, intertwined, and an exploration of our state of consciousness as existing beings. It can be said that the latter, karma, must exist for the former, dharma, to manifest. Order, civilization, and service are our responses to their paired states of chaos, nature, and survival. If we think of karma as primordial functionality of nature, and we should, we can come to see that all is flux. All is ever changing, but nothing new ever arising, and nothing begun ever ends. It is all just transformation. We are continuously recycled. Karma reduces this to a basic formula. Plant a seed, and it will manifest a tree. What seed you plant is the tree you get. Thus, if you plant an apple seed, sorry, but you are not going to get a mango tree. Dharma is where you get to choose what seed you plant, how well you watch over it and water it, and get skilled in manifesting desirable fruits that have seeds, of course. Karma is inescapable as long as you are planting. Not planting is a different article. Chaos and order. Let us examine karma and dharma first through the lens of chaos and order. If we consider chaos as a lack of order, we may come to the humbling realization that chaos is a perception, and that order underlies our lack of understanding. This lack of understanding need not necessarily be myopic. It may be that we do not have access to the knowledge that would allow us to see this fact. So it is better to keep an open mind to chaos than to judge it. However, within what seems chaotic, we as creatures endowed with both emotion and reason can assert symptomatic order, and in so doing, affect positively our own and our society's lifespan and its quality. This is an example of dharma. Nature and civilization. Let us leave the previous thought open and move to the next matching categories, nature and civilization. Nature in Vedic thought is elemental, both on a gross level and a subtle level. Not unlike a Lego set, although they lack the subtle state, but humor me here, nature is nothing but building blocks. The gross ones are space, air, fire, water, and earth. Intelligently made to fit against and with each other so that together they end up creating various forms within which life can nestle. Thus the subtle building blocks that Lego does not have. These subtle elements are sensory apparatus that allow us to experience sound, touch, sight, taste, and smell. And voila, we have rudimentary life forms. As these life forms evolve, they develop higher, or should we say, more subtle sensory apparatus, culminating within humans as active reasoning and higher logic capacities. Having as a species achieved this logic, we may come to the conclusion that it is better to live in harmony than in discord, and to impose the rule of civility over the wild laws of nature, so that we may create a safer haven for us to coexist in. Let us call this civilization, although we will have to do so acknowledging that what we call civilization today may have drifted us quite far from this ideal. Perhaps towards a more chaotic civilization than compassionate logic alone would have us build. And let us leave this thought too hanging for now, although we may have glimmered that non-compassionate emotions has something to do with a flawed civilization. Now let us come to the third pair, survival and service. The law of nature in Vedic thought is known as Matsya Nyaya, or survival of the fittest, which is expressed as bigger fish eat smaller fish. And in the West, we understand it as the law of the jungle. Kill or be killed. Perhaps this intelligence of the universe is what is needed to do the recycling that keeps nature in endless motion. But from the viewpoint of that which is to be recycled, it is indeed a painful experience to be born, only to grow old, be exposed to dangers and hunger, get sick, and eventually die. So while we are caught in this dilemma, we can at least try and mitigate as much of this suffering as possible. Thus, we may create a different law, such as the law of service, Seva Nyaya. In doing so, we become like the lamp that lights another lamp. It does so without any loss to itself, and so helps to make the room brighter. We move past our preoccupation with survival, that which originates deep within all our ancestors, be they amphibian, reptilian, or more recently, mammalian. We carry all our past within us, and much of it is a testimonial to the will to survive. Survival itself is expressed as desire for food, pleasure, and power. This is not unique to us humans. We, however, have within our brains the ability to transcend them. This activity of our frontal neocortex is the ability to reason, to use logic, and to move carefully past the minefields of desires exploding as negative emotions. This also results in us creating a civilization where we unite and become each other's support, a collective safety net, if you wish. Service itself can be seen as seeking and serving a higher truth, the collective truth, where like a forest, we better withstand a gale than if we stand in its path as solitary trees. Higher than this, we enter the realm of morality. Morality itself is impossible without shedding negative emotions. And even to some extent, the desires they conceal, revealing the importance of volition over action. Let us move to emotions and cognition. So we end up again with the omnipresent emotional states and the capability of our higher cognitive functionality to understand and take control of these states. On a personal level, this too is dharma. The ability to positively direct our own karma to a more pleasant rebirth by willing ourselves to become more selfless through service. Because we are ourselves constantly in a state of flux, this rebirth is actually happening moment to moment. As we can constantly change cells, not only within our brains, but within our skin. So then karma is both instantaneous and, according to the Vedic worldview, extremely long-term, where we literally leave our current body and then get enmeshed in another one, carving it out from the same 5 gross elements, but perhaps carrying the conditioning subtle elements and the character they have created into our next manifested life. An even deeper truth is that we lose none of our memory. We carry all of it with us, from life to life, from eon to eon. What we lose is our ability to access most of it. But that too is fodder for another article. Thus, karma is the inevitable result of each action we take, and dharma is the action we choose that creates happier and more fortuitous futures for us. These ancient teachings also explain the content of dharma as being twofold, built of both intelligence and compassion. And this, of course, is the quintessential approach to the turbulent sea of our emotions and the flawed landscape of our reasoning. As riders on a boat, when the sea is rough, all our energy is taken up with survival. We do this by attempting to control the boat as best we can. If we are unskilled riders on the storm, when the calm comes, we may waste time in celebrating, forgetting that the next storm is just around the corner. And so we just end up miserably moving from storm to short-lived celebration to storm. However, if we are skilled riders of the storm, immediately after, we take what we have learned to create a better, sturdier boat. Dharma thus begins on a personal level, which yoga tells us is of a moral nature to start with, and then extends into the society we create and our relationship with each other. Yoga's eightfold path actually begins with this emphasis of a moral obligation to ourselves and to others through the do's and don'ts of the yama niyama model. Once we realize that the backbone of a successful and thriving society is a moral one, we see how civilizations flourish, having learned how to ride the storms of nature without destroying it. And that a civilization in decline is one that loses first and foremost its morality. This then leads to a decline in its logic, and finally, its higher, more positive emotional states, such as kindness, generosity, compassion, admiration, and equanimity. The antidote, of course, is the effort we make to create a dharma nyaya, a law of dharma, to balance our journey through our karmic imprint so we come out with a higher nature than that of the fish-eating fish, army against army model that mankind seems to keep slipping into in the madness of morally bankrupt egos, where we bring the law of the jungle into the land of civilization and destroy our very own lives. Each attempt at civilization will face this challenge. And the longer lasting civilizations are the ones that brave the storms of nature's law of karma through imposing the higher law of dharma, using the joint process of knowledge, prajna, and compassion